Hi, I'm Amy. I love to cook, and today I'm going to be sharing 4 delicious summer recipes. An appetizer, side, entree, and dessert, or whatever you'd like them to be. Let's get started. I'm going to make the Caprese Skewers, so I'll show you what I have for that. Okay, I have these sweet bite cherry tomatoes, cheese sticks. I don't love fresh mozzarella, so I'm just using the mozzarella from this, and some balsamic glaze. Here's everything prepped and ready. So the mozzarella sticks that I cut up, the tomatoes that I washed, basil I got from my garden. Now for the assembly, I'm going to do tomato, then basil, cheese, and then repeat that. I'm going to do tomato, basil, cheese again, and then I'll go ahead and finish all the rest of the skewers. I'm going to go ahead and add the balsamic glaze. That was a really easy appetizer recipe, and I'm really excited to eat it. Really excited to try out this roasted tomato basil orzo. Here are the tomatoes. This is 4 cups of cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, I'm going to add in 4 garlic cloves. The recipe says 3 to 4, so I'll just do 4. Some thyme. I only have dried, so I'm going to use that. I'll add 3 teaspoons of honey. Salt. And pepper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix it all together. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and roast it in a 425-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until the tomatoes start to burst. Then when I take it out, I'm going to go ahead and finely chop the garlic. The recipe calls for prosciutto. I don't actually really like prosciutto all that much. I'm just going to skip it, and I'm going to go ahead and boil water for the pasta and get kind of the sauce ready to go while the tomatoes roast. I've got the water on the stove for the pasta. This is going to be for the sauce, so I currently have 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 2 teaspoons of honey. I'm going to grate this shallot. Normally I just chop it. I've never grated it before, so this will be fun. Now that it's grated, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the other ingredients. I'm going to add a tiny bit of red pepper flakes, just a little. I don't want it to be too spicy. Some salt and some pepper. And then I'll just taste it once the salad's all put together, or the pasta's all put together, and see if I need more of anything. Let's add pasta to boiling water and go ahead and take those tomatoes out of the oven. My tomatoes are out of the oven and they have popped just like we want them to. Now the pasta goes into the bowl of olive oil and vinegar. And I'll pour in those tomatoes with all the juices. I added the garlic that I had roasted with the tomatoes into the pasta. It was super creamy when I was chopping it, and it looked really good. Now I'm going to add the cheese. So I chopped up about 6 mozzarella sticks, cheese sticks, but you can use feta, you can use whatever you'd like. And then I added some fresh herbs. So I chopped up basil and some chives. And then I'm just going to give it a good stir. How delicious does this look? So summery and fresh. It was really good. I'm going to go ahead and make a barbecue chicken, a grilled barbecue chicken. So for this recipe, there's going to be a brine. It's like a buttermilk brine. And then there's also a dry rub, as well as barbecue sauce that I'm going to put on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that now. So I'm just going to take the time right now to brine the chicken. So it's buttermilk and salt. I'm going to go ahead and add, this is 16 ounces of buttermilk. And I'm just going to pour it in that gallon Ziploc bag. And then here is the tablespoon of salt. Now let's add the chicken. I have about 3 pounds of chicken. The recipe originally calls for 4 to 5 pounds, but I have 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the bag, and then it's currently about 2:15, so I'm probably gonna start grilling it at about close to 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that all covered up. Here it is. I just completely covered the chicken in the brine, and I'm going to store it in the fridge until I'm ready to grill it. Now for the dry rub. This is 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of garlic. It calls for 1.5 teaspoons of mustard. I'm gonna go a little light just because I don't love mustard. 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder, 1.5 teaspoons of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and just a little bit of cayenne. Okay, I'm gonna stir it all up. This looks really good. This is gonna be the dry rub for the grilled chicken. Okay, here it is. Looks really good. This chicken has been marinating for over 24 hours at this point, so I'm going to take all the chicken out and dry it on this paper towel, and then I'll go ahead and season it with the spice mix that I had made the other day. Once I remove the paper towel, I'm going to go ahead and season it. I'm going to use that seasoning mix, and I'll also add salt. I'll kind of rub it all in, flip the chicken over, and do the same thing on the other side. I did only end up using about half of the seasoning I made, so I'll save the rest for another recipe. My grill is nice and hot. I'm just going to go ahead and place the chicken on there. I'm not the most familiar with grilling. I've only grilled a few times on my own. My husband normally does it, but I'm going to give it a go. Okay. And I'll check back in about probably 15 minutes and flip it. I'm back inside. This is the barbecue sauce I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in this bowl, and then I'll baste it on the chicken with this brush. I'm back at the grill. Let's take a look. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and flip them now. It has only been about 5 minutes, but oh yeah. But I can see that it's starting to get kind of white along the edges, which usually means it's starting to get pretty cooked. Okay, it's definitely gotten a little stuck. Okay. Okay, well, it's really tender. Probably because I brined it for so long. Really good, don't they? Here it is. I think I'm actually just gonna flip it again and then leave it for a few more minutes and then take the temperature. I want to make sure it's reaching the right temperature. These are pretty thick chicken breasts. Yeah, so you can see that's still raw. I flipped it again, and now I'm just putting the barbecue sauce on. I put barbecue sauce on both sides, flipped it over on both sides, and I put barbecue sauce again on this side, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Here it is off of the grill. Next, I'm going to make Oreo chocolate chip cookies. Really excited to try these. It's a hot day, so I'm just going to make the dough now, and then I'll bake it later when it cools down a little bit. First things that will go in are 2 sticks of butter. These have softened a bit. Next, I have 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 cup of white sugar. And I'm just gonna beat this until it's combined and fluffy. Okay, I'd say this looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 eggs. I'll add 1 at a time. Next, I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'll combine that together. And I'll add flour. So I'm adding about 2.5 cups of flour. Then I'm gonna add the malted milk powder. This is probably the ingredient I'm most excited for. And I'll add some baking soda and some salt. And I'll mix that together. Next, I'm going to fold in the chocolate. So this is 1/4 cup of white chocolate, 2/3 a cup of chocolate chips, just like they're semi-sweet, and then this is a rounded cup of Oreo chunks. I just put them in a Ziploc bag and I rolled a rolling pin over them until they were crushed. And then I'll just kind of fold it all together, stir it up so that the chocolate and the cookies just kind of get mixed in with all the dough. Okay, that's the dough. Really excited to try it. It looks really good. I've lined my cookie sheet with parchment paper. I'm going to drop the cookie dough into 2 tablespoon balls onto it, and then I'm going to bake it at 350. So I'll bake it for 6 to 7 minutes. Take the sheet pan out, bang it on the counter a few times. I think this just flattens the cookies. And then I'll put it back in the oven for a couple more minutes, take it out, slap it on the counter a couple times, and then they're ready. This is the final smackdown, if you will, and the cookies are ready. These were so delicious. They're chewy. They have a tiny bit of crunch from those Oreo cookies. I loved them. I loved all of these recipes. They were so good. I'll be making them again for sure. I loved that dry rub for the chicken. The cookies were really good. The Orzo salad, as well as the Caprese Skewers, just so summery and delicious. Please subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.